5 genius responses to put rude people in their place. There are few things in life as unnerving, irritating, and sometimes downright humiliating as encountering someone whose weapon of choice is rudeness. It comes without invitation, crashing into your peace of mind like a drunk guest stumbling into a quiet dinner party. 1 minute, you are engaged in what feels like ordinary human interaction, and the next, there it is. A sharp remark, a dismissive tone, a raised eyebrow that carries more arrogance than an entire library of sneers. Rudeness slaps the air around you, demanding you either shrink in silence or respond with fire. But here's the paradox. Responding with fire often burns both of you, and silence, though noble, can sometimes feel like defeat, like you swallowed something bitter and now must sit with its aftertaste. What then is the genius middle ground? How do you stand tall, preserve your dignity, and yet put the offender in their place without losing yourself to petty combat? That's where words chosen with surgical precision become your shield and your sword. Think about it. Haven't you walked away from an encounter with a rude person only to replay it endlessly in your mind? The perfect comeback arrives at midnight, when the battle is already over, and you mutter it under your breath like a ghost rehearsing lines no one will ever hear. But what if you had those words ready, not as cheap comebacks or insults, but as elegant weapons? What if you could disarm rudeness without lowering yourself to it? What if you could leave the other person blinking in silence, their sharpness blunted by the calm strength of your response? That's what this is about. 5 genius responses, not witty for wit's sake, not sarcastic for cheap applause, but poised, clever, and powerful. They don't just defend your dignity, they quietly remind the rude person that while they may have rattled their own cage, they will not rattle yours. This isn't about being cruel. It isn't about winning an exchange like a duel in the street. It is about reclaiming balance, reminding both them and yourself that dignity is non-negotiable. Now, let's walk into these responses. Each one a carefully honed blade hidden within velvet. Each one dignified, disarming, and devastating in its own quiet way. 1. You seem frustrated. Is something wrong? There is a peculiar magic in taking the steam out of someone's rudeness by refusing to mirror it. Imagine being hit with sharp words, delivered with that unmistakable mixture of irritation and superiority, and instead of snapping back, you tilt your head slightly, soften your gaze, and ask, "You seem frustrated. Is something wrong? What just happened?" In that moment, you did not give them the drama they were fishing for. You took the bait they dangled, unhooked it, and handed it back to them with a calm smile. This question flips the script because it reframes the rude behavior not as an attack, but as a symptom. Their anger is no longer a weapon pointed at you. It's a signal of their own unresolved storm. By pointing out the frustration beneath their words, you peel away the performance and force them to confront themselves. Picture it. A coworker makes a cutting remark about your work ethic in front of others, expecting you to shrink or defend. Instead, you calmly look at them, voice steady, "You seem frustrated. Is something wrong?" The room shifts. The rude remark is no longer an insult. It becomes a confession they didn't know they were making. Humor lives here too, if you allow it. The beauty of this response is its subtle irony. It can feel like offering a warm cup of tea to someone who just threw cold water in your face. There's a touch of wit in asking about their well-being when they just declared war on your peace. It's like inviting them to sit down on the very chair they tried to pull from under you. And yet, it isn't cruel. It's human. Because often beneath rudeness is pain, stress, insecurity, exhaustion. You don't excuse it, but you acknowledge it. That alone can transform the encounter. You maintain your dignity, and they, whether they like it or not, must reckon with the fact that their rudeness is transparent. They are seen not as intimidating, but as troubled. And that can be the most humbling realization of all. 2. I'm surprised you feel comfortable saying things like that. There are moments when rudeness crosses from the mildly irritating into the outright shocking, a comment so unnecessarily sharp that it slices the air, leaving you blinking in disbelief. It's in those moments that this line emerges like a scalpel. I'm surprised you feel comfortable saying things like that. This response does not shout, it does not insult, it does not lower itself to the gutter. But it does something far more powerful. It shines a spotlight. It takes the rude person's words, lifts them into the air, and exposes them for all to see. What you are really saying is, this is out of line, and we both know it. Imagine someone throwing a barbed comment about your appearance, your choices, or even your intelligence. The instinct may be to strike back with equal venom. But when you breathe in, hold your ground, and deliver this line, the effect is electric. Their remark, meant to sting, is suddenly turned into a question of their character. Why did they feel comfortable? Why did they cross that line? And, more importantly, why are they now standing under the weight of their own exposed audacity? There's elegance in this. It's like placing a mirror before them, one they cannot easily look away from. There is no need to raise your voice, no need to embellish. The beauty of this response lies in its restraint. The silence that follows is heavier than any insult you could throw. And yes, it carries wit, subtle, cutting wit that requires no punchline. The phrase drips with polite astonishment, as though you are studying a rare bird that has suddenly landed on your windowsill. You said that, here, of all places, in this tone. Fascinating. It leaves them squirming not because you fought back, but because you refused to. And in doing so, you've already won. 3. Could you repeat that? Few phrases carry as much devastating simplicity as this one. Delivered with calm, deliberate curiosity, could you repeat that, is the verbal equivalent of holding a magnifying glass to a speck of dust. Suddenly, the rude person's words are no longer an arrow, they are a specimen under examination. What makes this so effective is its refusal to accept the sting at face value. Rudeness thrives on momentum. It is often tossed out quickly, with the hope that its sharpness lands before the victim has time to react. By asking them to repeat it, you stop that momentum cold. You throw a wrench into the gears of their performance, and often the rude person is caught off guard, realizing that what sounded bold in the heat of the moment now looks absurd when spoken slowly a second time. Picture it. Someone snaps at you in a meeting, dismissing your idea with a tone dripping in condescension. Instead of arguing, you simply lean forward and ask, "Could you repeat that?" The silence that follows is not empty, it is loaded. Everyone knows the absurdity of the statement that was just made, and now the rude person must either backpedal or double down. Either way, they are the ones squirming. There is a touch of dry humor here too, because sometimes when someone repeats themselves, the rudeness loses its teeth. It sounds pettier, smaller, almost childlike. It's as if you've asked them to perform their outburst under a spotlight, and suddenly they realize how ridiculous it is. It's the kind of response that leaves others in the room quietly smiling, while the rude person wonders why they ever opened their mouth in the first place. This isn't aggression. It's elegance. It's the verbal equivalent of raising an eyebrow, minimal effort, maximum effect. And the best part, you remain calm, composed, untouchable. They are the ones forced to wrestle with the absurdity of their own words. 4. How can we focus instead on making this work well for the both of us? Not all rudeness comes in the form of insults. Sometimes it comes cloaked in resistance, in hostility during collaboration, in snide comments meant to derail progress. This is where the genius of this response emerges. How can we focus instead on making this work well for the both of us? It's a shift, a pivot from conflict to cooperation. Instead of being pulled into the mud of petty back and forth, you reframe the entire encounter. The rude person may expect you to retaliate or retreat. Instead, you redirect the energy into something constructive, leaving them no choice but to step into the same lane or reveal themselves as openly destructive. Imagine two people trying to solve a problem, but one chooses rudeness as their contribution, sarcasm, dismissiveness, the smug refusal to cooperate. With this line, you strip away the performance and return the focus to the goal. It is not about personalities, egos, or hidden wars. It is about the task at hand. How do we make this work for both of us? There's a quiet wit here too. It's almost as though you're saying, "You're trying so hard to win an argument I didn't sign up for, but I'm here to solve the problem you're pretending doesn't exist." You've sidestepped their aggression and planted the conversation firmly back in the soil of reason. And here's the deeper beauty. This response carries dignity not just for you, but for them. It offers them a way out. Instead of cornering them with shame, it extends a bridge. They can either cross it and re-engage constructively, or refuse and reveal themselves as the true obstacle. Either way, you've preserved your composure, demonstrated maturity, and shifted the balance of power without raising your voice. 5. I see your point. This might be the most paradoxical of them all. When faced with rudeness, the last thing you'd expect is to acknowledge the other person's perspective. But this response, delivered with calm clarity, is a stroke of quiet genius. I see your point. Why? Because it dismantles the very foundation of rudeness, conflict. Rude people thrive on opposition. They throw barbs because they expect resistance. They want the tug of war, the clash, the drama. By acknowledging their point, you deny them that stage. Imagine someone snapping at you in frustration, insisting that your approach is wrong, that your method is flawed. Instead of defending, you say, "I see your point." The sting in the air evaporates. They are disarmed because you've refused to fight. And in that disarmament, something subtle shifts. They are forced to reconsider not just what they said, but how they said it. There's also a sharp irony here, because often the rude person doesn't expect agreement, they expect battle. When you agree, you're not conceding defeat. You're diffusing the tension and keeping the exchange firmly in your control. I see your point doesn't mean you are wrong. It means you are composed enough to acknowledge perspective without losing your own. In fact, this response is deeply strategic. It buys you time. It creates space. It shows that you are not fragile, not flustered, not easily thrown off balance. And in that space, the rude person must either soften their stance or look increasingly unreasonable against the backdrop of your calm acceptance. It is not surrender. It is sovereignty. It is the art of remaining unshaken when someone else is shaking the table.